Hello, everyone, and welcome to another ConsenSys Cypherpunk Hackathon Workshop. We have Dan with us again today on another awesome workshop. This time he's going to be talking about a new kind of NFT auction. So, hey, what could that be about? I love this topic. Obviously, this is a very hot topic of the day right now, NFTs and what can we do with them. And so quickly want to give you housekeeping around Crowdcast, which is the platform we're using today. On the right-hand side, there's a chat, which you can use to communicate with us during the workshop. However, if you have a question you'd like Dan to answer, it's best to add it to the Ask a Question queue at the bottom there. If you queue it up, then we'll be able to see that a question has come through and we can give it the attention it needs. You can also come up on screen and ask Dan the question yourself and have a conversation. Sometimes that's nice. Otherwise, I'm happy to ask the question on your behalf. Also, we have on the bottom, there's a green button that says see more workshops and sign up for the hackathon. So we are really close now. We're June 1. So the hackathon actually starts June 7th through the 11th. There is still time to sign up and jump in and hack on an idea. If you have an idea, we'll help you get a team around that. If you just want to join an existing team and hack on some ideas that are out there, we'll help connect you with that as well. We have, I believe, one more team building session left. Please join us on ConsenSys Hackathon 2021 Slack channel to find out when those dates are. You can also find those dates on the Confluence doc. When you click on that green button, that's where you can find the sign up link for the actual hackathon itself. You can also see all the replay links and the slide decks from the workshops of this series. And I believe this might be the last one, so there's no more to RSVP for. You're the last one, Dan. Closing.
I knew I was.
This is amazing. But you can check out all the replays, which is great. And so please hit us up on that Slack channel if you are interested, and we'll help connect the dots for you. All right. Well, I'm Shay. Without further ado, I'll hand the mic over to Dan.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shay. This has been a fun series. It's been fun to get to talk about different ideas with people around the company. So today, this is a little different from my other talks. My other talks were things that were like related more directly to my day-to-day work. Today, I'm sharing with you I had a random idea for a new kind of auction, and it specifically works well with NFTs, so it feels a little in vogue. So I'm just going to describe to you this. I've been bouncing it across different people's minds, and I haven't found another auction that resembles it yet. I mean, there's some like ones that are aspiring to similar goals, but it seems to have some unique properties. So, and I've even got a little bit of sample solidity code. So if anybody's interested, this could be a good hackathon topic. Otherwise, it'll probably just be something I do on some weekends for a while. So about me, I'm Dan Finlay. I'm a group manager and co-founder at MetaMask, and I'm just working on using these tools to decentralize power. And so I'm talking about empowering artists in different types here, as NFTs often are. So I'm going to give you a little history of like how I had the idea, what the idea is, some of the safety properties I've stepped through, and then some possible insight into how it could be implemented. So I'm going to be largely going through my notes, as I often do, because I really didn't provide adequate time to prepare for this. Okay, so I had an idea. Yeah. So the MAT, it stands for Maximizing Artist Turnout and Takings. It was retconned by Jordan Spence, thanks to him. Okay, so the idea came from seeing an NFT that I enjoyed the song of, but just not wanting to pay $5,000 for a song NFT. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked the song a lot, but that just felt like an unreasonable burden for any one fan for any one song. So I was literally just kind of walking around saying don't they know, like, I didn't even want an exclusive one. I just wanted it so when people look at my NFT page, there's like a lot of NFT pages coming out, right? It seems like everyone and their sister's making some NFT trophy case site, right? Even Mark Cuban, right? He's got his one. He's right. It's basically just like type in your ENS name and then see all their NFTs. It's like a big show off thing. So, for me, this was not about having the exclusive song. This was about getting to show that song on my little profile when people ever went to my NFT page. So it wasn't like something I didn't need to exclude everybody else. And I was kind of thinking like, okay, that's my psychology right now. Surely there are other times also when somebody's selling something and they've got a lot of fans who maybe don't care as much about exclusivity as much as they care about getting in on it to some degree. I thought there might have been money left on the table for the artist, and there was probably a way for more people to kind of win too. Actually, yeah, I wonder if no, I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so that was kind of the inspiration. Okay, so here's the premise. All right, so since you can have NFT runs of any size, a seller might ask, well, what's the ideal price and quantity, right? Like some NFTs, it's like you're auctioning a single NFT. And then some NFTs, there is a thing where people will offer a bunch. Like there will be a run of 10. I've even seen artists do a thing on OpenSea where they will actually just post like 10 copies and they're all just undergoing single bid auctions in parallel, which is a really weird effect because like, one might go for a really different price than the other one. Like they're not actually correlated, even though the bidders might all kind of just want any one of them, right? So what's the good way of letting artists just like say like, okay, I want to sell this song or this piece of art or something, and I don't know what the right number is, but I just, I want to give it to the most friends, let's say per the amount of profit I could get. So if you just imagine any set of bidders, like we have an open bidding time and anybody can bid as much as they want, and they each have a max price that they'd be willing to pay, there's always going to be at least one optimal run size, or what do we call this, edition size, and price where the seller is going to get the maximum total revenue. So it's like, something that's not implied there is if everyone's paying the lowest price, everyone pays the same price. So let's say I was going to pay $100 and you offered 50, and two people offered 50. Okay, so really what we have 3 people who would pay 50, right? Because I would obviously also pay 50 if I bid 100. So what the algorithm would do is it would weigh my single bid, like should we mint a single edition at $100 or should we mint 3 at 50 each? And because 3 times 50 is 150, that's more than 100. That outcome would result in 3 NFTs at $50. So this auction helps efficiently discover an optimal price and run size. It doesn't provide bidders any exclusivity guarantees. It's not about that. There could be 1 million editions printed, but instead it guarantees that if you win, you pay no more than anyone else. So a large run will end up with a lower price. So maybe there's gonna be a lot of editions, but at the very least, you're gonna know that you paid the minimum price. So you avoid like, what do you call those, like regret syndromes of buyer's remorse and whatnot. Okay, so the process is seller defines an NFT that they want to sell and a period of time. And actually, I no longer think the period of time is an important parameter. I think this can be totally arbitrary time. In fact, the starting of auction doesn't even have to be on chain, I now believe. So you just say like, okay, here's an NFT I'm thinking of selling. And then buyers submit bids. These are commitments to pay at their maximum price. And then whenever they want, and at the end of the auction, I'm going to say whenever they want, the seller submits the highest revenue set of winners. So I'm like live editing this, kind of keep my notes tidy. And then all of the bidders pay the lowest price of all the provided bids and earn a copy of the NFT. So an early version of this, I had like included like an algorithm for finding the optimal size and price given a set. And that's really expensive to do on chain because you're like iterating, you're like sorting by price, and then you're iterating until you find one that doesn't increase the total revenue. But the truth is, the seller is perfectly incentivized to submit the highest revenue set. Like, so it can be totally off chain. It doesn't need to. So there's this kind of perfect like alignment. You're like, oh, we don't need the blockchain to do something that's totally, incentive aligned for that agent. We can just trust the seller to submit the bids. So it should be really cheap to implement. Okay. And then we've got some examples. Oh yeah, these should be fun. So did some examples from real bids. Okay, so first let's take a basic 1 to 10 bidders. Okay, so if we've got 10 bidders, each of whom is willing to pay a different value between 1 and 10, that ends up looking like this. So you can see the blue line is how many editions there are going to be on this thing, and then the red line is the total revenue for the seller. So you can see if you printed 1 at $10, the seller would obviously get 10. Now, if you printed 2 at $9, you're going to get 18. That's a little better, right? And 3 at what's this? 8, you're going to get 24, etc. And we can see there's actually 2 points that are a peak here. We've got at 5 and at 6. They both bring a total revenue of $30 to the seller. And so, I haven't put as much time into the user interface, but in this scenario, the seller would get to pick between the two, probably. Here's somebody who's commented on Twitter and was thinking through the UI. They were thinking a stacked bar chart is a cool way to also visualize it, because you can actually see how many additions are in the stacked bar. So here in this case, you can see this one's obviously the highest, and you can also see it's got a medium number of additions minted. And so that would be the one that you'd go with. Okay, and then let me get a little more. We've got some more advanced examples too. Okay, so let's imagine, the crowd beating a high roller. Here's another scenario. So consider a single $10 bidder, but then many bidders at the $1, $2, and $3 ranges. So while offering any number of NFTs is going to bring more revenue at $10 than at 9 or 8, right? So wait, am I reading this graph right? I guess this is the 10. So the bid order is flipped in this table for some reason. So yeah, so they're going to make more at 10 than they are at 9 or 8, right? You can see the revenue going down and down. But then once they get to this spot where, there's a bunch of $2 bidders, suddenly the sum is higher than the $10 bid. And so in this case, there's kind of a contest between somebody who wants a few single ones and then many big ones. There's a question in chat. What does the MAT stand for? I'll just revisit it real quick. It is maximizing artist turnout and takings. It was kind of a joke. It's kind of named after Matt Condon, who's a big early NFT aficionado. Okay, and then I'm going to just share one more hypothetical example. I did some real world data analysis. Jacob, you'll like this because it's your art. Okay, so consider Fox by Nelly. All right, so she issued 10 digital editions of this painting. And so there's already a sense that she was not going for perfect exclusivity. So it kind of seems like it might have been a good candidate for a MAT auction. But she wanted many people to have a chance at it. Now, this one's hard to analyze for a couple reasons. Because on a site like OpenSea, there's a different bid for each one of the auctions. And also because it's a single price auction, people don't bid unless they're going to be the next highest bidder, right? But in a MAT auction, you could bid the lowest bid. You could bid $1 on something that has a high bid of 1,000. And you could just believe that you're going to rally a bunch of support at $1 and actually still have a chance at buying it. So we actually really have really flawed data looking retroactively at these. So really, we should probably imagine lots of lower bidders that are not represented in this. But if we look at the bids that she received, what would the ideal one have been? And so I looked at that. So 3 of the auctions concluded. The distribution looks kind of like this. There were fewer high ones, but then there were actually, this is at Ether. So there was 1, 5 Ether, and then there were 5, 1 Ether. So we actually see something really similar to our early example. And mind you, this is in a type of auction where people are disincentivized to submit smaller bids. So I think it's really plausible that if she had been doing a MAT auction, many more low bids could have appeared. She would have made far more additions and probably made more money. Okay, so that's it for examples right now. Let's go to, talk a little bit about safety properties of the thing. I think that I've somewhat proven a bunch of these things, which is, I don't know, I was just on a roll when I had the idea. Okay, so by submitting additional bids, the seller cannot favorably manipulate the price, right? Something you should always worry about in an auction is, can the seller play with this and game people and then squeeze them for more money? That's why usually a second price auction is a blind bid, right? Because if you're going to be paying, and actually some people who have seen the MAT auction, they compare it to a second price auction where the winner pays the next highest bidder's price. And usually that has to be blind because the next highest price could be submitted secretly by the seller to pump it right up to what they're willing to pay if they knew what the winner's threshold was. So usually you want that to not be known. But in this case, we show everybody's bids. Everybody's bids are, presumably publicly submitted. So we need to know that the seller can't just submit bids and make you pay more. And There's like kind of two sub things. We'll split it in half. By submitting higher bids, the seller can't favorably manipulate, so higher than your bid, and by lower bids, they can't favorably. So if they submit bids that are higher than yours, first you can assume that if no other bids below theirs would satisfy the pool, I'm like trying to read that. Below it would satisfy the pool criteria, then the artist receives no revenue. Oh, right. So if they're bidding lower than the pool criteria, then they're not actually contributing to the revenue they'd be generating, and so they were not able to gain any buyers. But this is previously. So if you were the high bidder, so if they're bidding lower than what would be included in the pool, if no bids below, this is then the bid, below the bid they're bidding higher than. The bid they are bidding higher than, then would satisfy the pool criteria, then the artist receives no revenue. And so, I was sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be stepping through proofs on the live stream. I haven't just gone through these. I should probably read through these. But anyways, and then if an additional bid satisfies the pool criteria, like it would be included, then it would win alongside the previous winners and pay its bid value, which is the same result as if no bids above it had been placed. Basically, if they have to bid in order to be included, and so they're paying the money they're making. When you submit an additional bid, and maybe I won't step through all of it, but when you're submitting an additional bid, it can only lower the price of others. Like if there's an outstanding $100 bid, okay, you can bid $100 also. They're still going to pay $100, and you're printing an additional edition. So the seller always has the ability to print additional editions at no extra cost to themselves, but arguably they already did as the original artist. But if they bid any higher, they'd be potentially cutting out the others and losing all their profit. And if they bid lower, they'll actually be lowering the amount paid by others. So, anyways, a real good common response to this is, how much does scarcity influence bidders' behavior? Because obviously there's a axiom this entire thing builds on, which is these bidders must not be averse to inexclusivity, right? You can't be bidding to have the only one. You have to be bidding so that you have one. So let's just jump out of safety properties for a second and look at possible use cases. I think that use cases are kind of neat. And here's a couple that we've come up with. Funding scientific research. There's a platform called Plank where you can fund open science research. And this would be a way where you can be listed as one of the people who helped fund it. So if you're funding science research, for example, it's probably more important to you that the science research is funded and that you get credit for that than it is to be able to say, I'm the only one who funded it. Because in that case, you're kind of bleeding money, but you're actually lesser funding the research you so supposedly care about. If you actually care about the thing getting funded, you should not care about the exclusivity. You should care about it getting maximum revenue. Another example, I got reached out to by someone named Joe Benzo, who's got a project called Sound Louder. It's a blockchain-based music rights distribution platform, sounds similar to Ujo. And they were pointing out that this could be used for auctioning off the rights to like remix a beat. Because, for example, when you're trying to buy rights to remix a beat, okay, you might care about exclusivity. Like if you're, Jay-Z or something and you've got a huge reputation, yeah, you might want exclusivity. And the Mat auction allows you to bid higher to make the bid more exclusive. But for the vast majority of beat producers out there, they actually just care about getting the best deal for the people who are mixing it. And most people that are remixing a beat don't already have an established millions fan base. And so what they're actually each looking for is the lowest price to get the rights to remix that song. So there's another case where inexclusivity can be a deliberate strategy for some kinds of bidders in some kinds of auctions. So anyways, I thought it was kind of cool to see both of those. Because a lot of times when we think about auctions, we're thinking about like, oh, who has the Monet or something. You're like, oh, well, obviously no one wants to be the one who has like, I don't know. Well, some people might want to have like one of three, but it's not as big. But as long as the bidders know what they're getting into, there are at least some cases where where exclusivity isn't the incentive. I think that's probably it. Let me see. Oh, we got some user interface considerations. So yeah, I haven't thought too deeply about the user interface yet. Obviously, it's a weird one because it's not a type of auction that, as to me, it's novel. So I think it'd be a little tricky to make it really usable, but it might indicate the current minimum price in a way similar to the Humble Bundle, so that you know what's the minimum price I have to pay to guarantee that I get it. But then ideally, it also has a sense of like, oh, if you bid this low, then you need this many more people who bid that low to get it, or something like that. Could be tricky. That stacked bar chart might be the best way to do it. It's obviously a very intuitive way to do it. So if I was doing an MVP, I'd probably just do a stacked bar chart or something. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's like the basic summary. Let me see if there's anything left here. Oh, sorry. Use cases. Oh, implementation notes. Yeah, I got a couple. Okay, I'll just briefly show you what I think the implementation could look like. So I don't think you need a start auction, because the end auction can actually include all the metadata of the token. So I could just say I intend to sell an NFT of this hash, and then you can give me a bunch of signed bids committing to pay that NFT if I should ever choose to end the auction. And so I think this can be a kind of one function NFT extension. And so you just make sure, oh yeah, we don't even need to, we don't need this enforcement if it's the auction.owner. Ideally, I guess the NFT, instead we'd check that the message sender was in the NFT metadata's owner field. So only they can close it. And then, we need some way of knowing what the lowest price. So we're just going to force the seller to put the lowest price bid first, and then we're going to enforce that as we go. And then we'll iterate through all the bids. And for each bid, we'll make sure that they bid higher than that minimum price that we said earlier. And we also will let them have specified their currency, and so we'll make sure that the the buyers are bidding in the currency that's intended, just a little safety, and then we'll verify their signatures, and then we'll make them an NFT. It's actually really simple because most of the logic is off chain, because we're just incentivizing the seller to select the set of signed bids that are most profitable to them. And that's actually one of the simplest proofs for it, is we don't have to prove it because we're not writing that code. We just have to agree that the seller is incentivized to select the set of bids that they prefer. Cool. So that's basically the MAT auction. It could be a fun hackathon project or other NFT platform. So yeah, let's move into Q&A. If anybody's got questions, I think it's not too complicated. So if there aren't, we could end early or whatever.
Oh, I love this idea, Dan. Good question so far. I think that, so when you picked the example, okay, so what was the main inspiration, I guess? What was it that really spawned you to kind of come up with a solution? What was the main pain point you were trying to solve? Because I think you explained it, but I think this would be important for us to kind of wrap our brains around a little bit more. Yeah,
it was coming from a place of, well, we've got this portion of the NFT ecosystem that is kind of trophy case-ish. I want, if somebody goes and looks at my NFTs, I want them to see a bunch of expressions of myself. And then meanwhile, I see an artist that I like selling one of ones. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks, because it means if I wanted to ever hope to see all their art now in that NFT landscape, I have to just hope that I find the one person that has their art, versus what if I was part of a community supporting that artist that was ensuring they were making the most money possible? I think that deserves the right to show that art in their trophy case. I think one of the hardest parts will be just convincing artists this is potentially the most lucrative way you could sell rights to your art, because it's just a little bit weird, But yeah, the goal is, hey, couldn't we share more copies of some art and make the artist more money at the same time? So it was those competing priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's honestly genius. I'm an artist as well. So I think this would totally appeal to artists, especially positioning that way, because the one thing that most, of course, it would make sense to like allow, like you're empowering your fans basically to ensure that you get the most support, right? And so you don't have to worry about that stuff. You don't have to worry about your art and track it and all this stuff, and worry about people like not getting credit due and all the good stuff. And so it also empowers fans to actually, you know, it kind of cuts out that middleman a little bit more. And honestly, the more fans, in my experience, the more fans know that the more of that money that they spend on whatever is going directly to the artist, the more that the fans are empowered and feel like, you know, motivated. So I think this is a win-win. I love this idea because it really is like engaging the fans to kind of, you know, support their favorite artist. And then the artist just has to create awesome stuff. So that's all they have to focus on, right? So, well, so what's your idea? Okay, so are you putting this out there into the universe to say, hey, everybody, you know, expand this idea? Or are you saying like, I love this idea? Are you saying like, you know, what is your next kind of hope or step for this?
Yeah, so obviously this is a hackathon talk. So the most obvious step would be like, if anyone's interested, you know, consider forming a hackathon team. But you know, my top choice for a hackathon entry for myself actually is using the EIP 3074 invokers.
Oh, yeah.
So
right.
but I can be persuaded if nobody joins that one, you know, or at the very least, I'd probably be happy to like pitch in and advise on this. But I don't think it's too far out of reach. So okay, so options. Form a hackathon
so
team.
If you're going to hack on this, yeah.
Reach out to me if you are interested in doing that. And otherwise, you know, maybe this is something we make outside of the hackathon too. I know, you know, with things like the Palm NFT chain that we've been contributing to, it seems like a pretty good opportunity to like introduce new kinds of auctions. And so I think it'd be cool also just as a potential consensus strategy consideration. I'll eventually pitch it in those venues as well. But
that makes sense.
Yeah. And otherwise, it's going to be a worst case scenario that it's a weekend hackathon that I chip on indefinitely. But also, you know, if anybody's interested in pitching in even on that level, let me know.
Yeah, and so even whether it's a hackathon or an idea that's outside of the hackathon that you kind of what are you thinking? Because you've put it together pretty thoroughly so far. It's great. So what would you need, like from people who want to like join you in this? Like, what were you hoping for? Like someone bringing to the table on this idea? And what would you hope for to be like the output or the MVP of this idea?
Yeah, I think the two things I could probably, or there's maybe three things. In my most ideal team, we'd have somebody that writes a little more solidity than me, because while I hacked this together, I'm not 100% that, you know, I don't have my tooling together. I'm going to be like writing it all one tool at a time. So some solidity person, probably if somebody wants to get in on the design of this, I think it's a really exciting design. Oh, this slide is totally wrong. I think it's a fun design challenge because it's like an interface for a type of auction we just haven't seen before. So if a designer wants to jump in on that, and then probably some front end talent too, somebody who likes React or something. You know, I'm willing to do mediocre versions of any of those, but if anybody wants to jump in on the hackathon, bring your real skills, you know, reach out.
Love it. Okay, so that's great. I might have to hit you up from a design perspective. I love this idea, cool. The UX design. Is there, I know that, a new kind of NFT marketplace on Palm sounds amazing, says Jacob. I think these are great ideas. And I guess, that's the main call to action. Anybody listening today, to reach out to Dan. If you're interested, this is an awesome idea, of course. And you think you can bring something to the table and just want to like hack it out, or even just have conversations of where this could go and extend, other ideas. Definitely do that. I guess that was kind of like the final takeaway of this. I know that, what you were going through, the example, is that something that is like, is that part of your slide, or is that something that people can check out again, like read over, especially if they're interested in
tell you what,
this document.
I'll just add a Solidity example. I'll add that on the Rome page, and I'll add the Rome page to the end of the slides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, and could you post that link right now into the chat? That would be great. that
Yeah.
Rome Research or
Oh, oh, sure.
RomeResearch.com.
Sure.
Yeah,
Dropping
right in the
that right
chat.
in
That'd
there.
be perfect. Yeah, there you go, everybody. So
Oh, wait,
that's a
sorry. That's
great.
the Google presentation. But yeah, I got it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, both are good.
Cool.
Perfect. Yes. So then anybody can kind of check that out again and explore. Have any other are there any other ideas that come close to this out there now? As I'm sure you were looking around, Dan.
Yeah.
What else is
Yeah.
out there that's
There
like a
were a
competitor
couple.
in a way?
Yeah. So there's this thing on the what do you call it? The flow on the flow blockchain. There's something they call a versus auction. There's a company called
Yeah, I heard
Versus.
about that.
So what they do is it's actually really similar in terms of what it's trying to do, but there's like two bids against each other. It's either the one of one or the blank of some fixed number. So it's actually doing something really similar where it's encouraging, like, can we get 25 bids of 400 or can we get a single bid of 11,000? And if so, like, which one is going to make more? But this is like a little weird because if you get the 11,000 or not, well, now there's a set number of these that you need to sell. And it's a fixed number price and it's a fixed number of editions. And so the artist just has to kind of shoot in the dark and guess how big their audience is. I'm kind of inclined to think that the mat solves this in a slightly more dynamic way.
Yeah, I just posted a link to it. If they call it versus dash flow or something like .art.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, I really like how yours is a little bit more straightforward. How this empowers the fan and then benefits the artist. I feel like the versus, is it more of like a competition of like price and it's just kind of like head to head? Like, is that, because I'm just not, I think, yeah.
It's like
gotcha.
either the one of one person's going to win or the 25 owner or the many edition owners are going to win. So it's playing with this line of like, oh, well, we never know if an NFT should be unique or an edition. Only it's doing it, so it's like I feel like it's coming from a really similar place.
Yeah, it's similar. This is more about like, should it be unique versus not? And it kind of takes the artist out of it a little bit. I like how yours, I don't know, maybe that's my perspective, but like, I like how yours is more focused on, let's say I'm really into an artist. I care specifically that artist, gets, the best price or is like supported. So like, is that more of the angle of how you're approaching it, or
Yeah, I was basically just saying like, I was saying I bet you with more editions we can make more than one of one. And so okay, let's say we've got one person willing to pay the very most and they just keep ranking that up and that becomes 15,000. As like, I bet you if you're willing to do two editions at 60% of that price, like sometimes that would do better. But I don't know how many editions and I don't know at what price. And so I was like, how would you tally up the interest? And yeah, that's what Matt does.
Gotcha. All right. This is great. So yeah, now at this point, it would just be like maybe a way to kind of convey that through a UX or a good UI to like say, hey people, this is what's going on. And then that could really help to get people to want to participate or engage. Yeah. So yeah, let's say somebody who in the mat auction, let's say a fan wanted to support an artist. So the artist would have to obviously showcase their work on the mat auctions. Let's say, for example, mat auctions like marketplace, right? And then would fans just come in, find the artist, and then from there, like, how does it work? Just place a bid, or like, is it like an eBay style vibe?
I think it's not at all an eBay style vibe. Like, so first of all, I think, in my opinion, the best way to learn about your artist's work is going to always be through that artist. So yeah, rather than be like, oh, here's the market. Like, I mean, you will probably discover some art you like there, but you never know if that's a forgery or whatever. But like the artist should promote it. Yeah. Okay. So the artist shows a link. Channel. They say, hey, I'm selling some editions, make it clear this isn't necessarily exclusive. And then, then the user interface has to kind of show like, oh yeah, there's this kind of, I don't know how to represent the struggle exactly between, you could bid higher if you care about exclusivity, or here's like the price that will ensure you would win at the current price, or you can bid low and try to rally extra support so that you can get a cheaper one. And then, so that's really, I think the hardest part is going to be the UX probably.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it could be like in that case, because I think that makes sense. Like, because again, it's like, okay, an artist basically just gives another way for people to pay, right? So it's like Venmo, crypto, whatever, so that's coming from like they're on the art, they're on the page, whatever, and then there's an option, pay, right? And then those options come up. So same thing with this auction idea, and then maybe it's a widget. Maybe it's a widget that stays within the experience of the artist and they could just embed it. But yeah, it's very similar to, there's marketplaces out there where, for example, like design templates, you can buy one that is, if you pay more, you can have it exclusive. Nobody else gets it. Nobody else can download it. But you can also buy one and be like, I don't care if anybody else has it. And it's less expensive.
Wait, so there's already a thing like that?
What's that, like it's, what is it called? Envato elements, or like, it's basically like it's a for design templates. I'll send you a link, Dan. But yeah, cool. that already exists, but not in the blockchain world. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And so I think people are familiar with that. It's like more like license exclusivity, or just whatever, you just want that and you're not caring about the exclusivity. But that's a great option to have for artists. So yeah, it's not there yet. Great. Well, any other leaving remarks or takeaways for everybody today?
No, that's really interesting. Yeah, thanks for bringing those other, the artist perspective. Yeah, totally perfect to have a conversation with you at the end.
I love it. Yeah, I would definitely will, because I love anything that helps artists monetize or connect the dots, because that's something that's missing, and I think that it helps artists thrive and not feel like they need the middleman. So the more you can help them connect the dots, like receive payment. I mean, crypto is a big thing. I think that's going to be, it's just another channel for artists to, empower their fans. So I think if we can, like you said, lower the barrier of entry for artists and not feel intimidated, or really kind of understand, oh, how can I use this? Like maybe it's a widget, like maybe it's a Mad Auction widget. You just put on your live stream page or whatever. That would be kind of cool. Or just like, your art page or whatever you're offering. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dan, for a great workshop. Like I said, I posted the link for signing up in the hackathon. It is on the Confluence page as well. He just left you with the slide deck, I believe, as well as the link to all the stuff he just went through for Matt Auctions, which is awesome. So feel free to explore that, and definitely reach out to him if you're interested in working on the idea with him. And we hope to see you in the hackathon. It's June 7th through 11th. And we will start sending out kind of reminders to everybody so that you can book that in your calendar. So thank you again.
Here's one other one. Here's one other thing I noticed yesterday is because I was bidding on an NFT for a blog post. I realized, today when you bid on NFTs that are first price auctions, you have a disincentive to share the article if you want the NFT. You're like, oh, I don't want anyone else to bid on this. They're going to jack up the price. I'm going to lose my bid, right? But in a Mad Auction, every time you get another person to bid, it can only lower your price. So it actually kind of builds in like a referral program.
That's awesome.
I thought that was kind of neat, and only realized that, like a month into the idea. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's really awesome. I love that. And here's that link, just if you want to, for you, Matt, Dan. I'm calling you Matt because Matt Auctions. Dan Auctions, Dan Matt Auctions. Theme Forest is, but they have, Envato is the overall umbrella they do. I think they have 4 different, they have Audio Jungle, which is like licensing music. And then they have Theme Forest, which is the design templates, but they all use that similar concept, I believe. When you can buy it, you can either buy an exclusive and pay more, or you pay less and it's not exclusive. Means someone else might also download that template. So exclusivity, sometimes that's been around for a while, but that's an interesting dynamic to now apply to individual artists, actually, which is awesome. Great. Well, I think with that said, we'll end on a high note. Thank you for wrapping up this series with a really cool topic, Dan. And we hope to see everyone at the hackathon. It's going to be really exciting. Lots of great ideas. I know for sure. I already know all the stuff that's coming through. So it'll be really cool to see everybody doing that. And then, so we'll see you hopefully at the hackathon opening ceremony. And that will be on June 7th. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dan.
Cool.